SDK.finance. Introducing the SDK.finance Middleware Spring Boot application. The project uses Java 21 LTS, Maven Builder, Apache Tomcat 10 as the web server, Spring Boot 3.4.2, Hibernate 6, and H2 database. The current version of the project consists of two parts, the application part and client part. The application includes the main application file, application configuration file, logger configuration file, exception handling bin, and business logic. Business logic is organized into the following packages: REST controllers, services, repositories, entities, utils classes. The application configuration file consists of server configuration, application configuration, data source configuration, logging level configuration, and actuator configuration. Additionally, there is a custom application configuration. For example, it includes the post configuration of the SDK.finance core application and the REST configuration, which will be used in the REST client configuration. The REST client part uses classes generated from the OpenAPI schema. All generated classes are packaged into a JAR file, which is then published to the public artifactory. This public artifactory is referenced in the POM XML, specifying the dependency on the OpenAPI library. Let's open this library. Inside the library, the Apache HTTP client is used. You can also see the OpenAPI schema, where all APIs are grouped. These APIs are then defined in the generated classes with the client suffix. Before calling the SDK.finance core application API, the generated class with the client suffix is required. For example, for authorization, the client should be defined as a bin with a prototype scope in the client configuration bin. Next, a class adapter with the API suffix should be created. For example, the authorization API should be created for each client. In this project, there are multiple adapters, but in the final scope, you can create a separate adapter for each client if needed. The list of API calls includes the authorization API, which also has a prototype scope bin. This API includes two methods: login and logout. These methods interact with the generated authorization client, which in turn calls the organization post method for login. For logout, the authorization API calls the authorization delete method. You can extend this file or create new files to define additional clients as needed. For convenience, you can create a utility bin, e.g., authorization utilities. After setting up the authorization API bin, you can add useful logic to simplify interactions with the API. Finally, in the business logic services, you can use either authorization API or authorization util as required. For example, authorization tools is used in business logic.